Hi, Lance Pitlick from Online Hockey Training. Do you have a player that is into hockey and pretty good at it? Better than most on his team or teams he plays against? Think your little hockey hopeful has a chance to make it to junior, college, or even the pros? Well, here's what you need to know about hockey training now before it's too late. I recently read a book by author Malcolm Gladwell. His mission was to find out if there were some common links that highly successful people shared, no matter what the discipline or field of expertise. He studied musicians, highly successful businessmen, mathematicians, and believe it or not, hockey players. There are a number of factors that can contribute to achieving elite levels of performance, such as where you live, what month of the year you were born, do you have a family that can encourage and support you, and dumb luck. But the one common denominator I want to focus on here was based on research done by psychologist Anders Ericsson and was made more mainstream in Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers. It's the 10,000 hour rule. Throughout the book, Gladwell regularly mentions the 10,000 hour rule, suggesting that in order to even have an opportunity to reach the highest levels of mastery in any given field, the person must first acquire 10,000 hours of deliberate, focused, and intensive practice. If you want to be a musician, computer giant, or hockey player, you must first amass 10,000 hours of practice in order to even give yourself a chance to reach the highest rung on the ladder. And this typically takes a minimum of 10 years to do so. To test this theory, I spoke with a number of successful business owners I know and asked them how long they had been in the industry before they felt confident enough to go out on their own. Each one had been in their industry for at least 10 years before starting their own company. If I look back at my own NHL career, I didn't play my first NHL game until I was 27. And to be honest, I wasn't ready to play at that level until that time, where I had the confidence and the experience to compete against the top players in the world. It probably was right around the same time that I hit my 10,000 hour mark. It just took me more than 10 years to get there. So what does this mean for you as a parent of a kid who has some early signs of talent for the sport? Realize that there are no overnight successes when it comes to hockey players. If you look at any of the past or current hockey greats, they were always good, but what people forget is the thousands of hours they put into honing their skills before they started their NHL careers. They had parents that could encourage and financially support this lengthy journey. They had a passion for the sport and were willing to put in persistent effort and an enormous amount of work, practicing for years and years, both on and off the ice. In this instant gratification society we live in, patience, self-motivation, consistent effort, and hard work are characteristics that need an upgrade in the youth today. Let me give you an example. Hear a song on the radio, Shazam it to see who sings it, bounce over to iTunes, and it's on your mobile device. The whole process takes about 2 minutes. What happened to, I like the song, how can I make some money to pay for the record or the CD? Weeks would go by before the purchase takes place. It's all about having a goal, mapping out a plan to achieve it, and then working the plan. All of this takes planning, patience, and execution. As my former NHL coach Jacques Martin used to say, focus on the process and the results will take care of themselves. Most players lose their focus, commitment, and persistent effort once in their teenage years, as new distractions occupy time that once was used for training to be a hockey player. In all of my experiences in coaching and training hockey players, the majority of players don't realize that they haven't done enough training to give themselves the opportunity to play past their high school years until they are in high school and want to keep playing but don't have any junior or college teams contacting them. So maybe in their sophomore or junior year, they get scared, train like hell for a year or two, only to find out that they ran out of time. No matter how committed they are now, no matter how many hours they train in that short year or two time period, they can't get close enough to the 10,000 hour mark, thus not getting noticed because they didn't separate themselves from the competition. The final decision is now put into the hands of evaluators, where if there's a tie with players, they probably are going to go with someone they know, heard about, or had picked in the past. So I ask the question again, do you have a player that's into hockey and pretty good at it? Better than most on his team or teams he plays against? Think your little hockey hopeful has a chance to make it to junior, college, or even the pros? If so, here's what you need to know. Let's take a look at a typical season for the average 8 to 14-year-old. Most winter hockey seasons last roughly 23 weeks. The average 8 to 14-year-old skates 5 times per week, and each practice or game lasts an hour. That's 115 hours of on-ice practice or games. Now let's add an additional 100 hours of practice or games for spring and summer AAA hockey. Next, tack on 85 more hours for camps, clinics, and outdoor pond hockey during the winter. Add everything up and you get 300 hours. Looks like a busy year of hockey, doesn't it? 365 days a year, and you are practicing 1 hour a day for 300 of them. From 20,000 feet, I'd say that's a dedicated athlete. But hold on a second. Remember the 10,000 hour rule? You must first acquire 10,000 hours of deliberate, focused, and intensive practice in order to even have a chance to make it to the highest hockey levels. If 10,000 hours is the goal, and you average 300 hours of training a year, it would take you over 33 years to reach 10,000 hours based on the above numbers. Yes, 33 years. You see where I'm going? If you are training to be a hockey player, have lofty goals to play college, junior, or professional hockey, you have to put a lot more time into training, starting at an earlier age. Here's an excerpt from the book Outliers giving an overview of a study done by psychologist Anders Ericsson that paints a pretty clear picture of what I'm getting at. Exhibit A, in the talent argument, is a study done in the early 1990s by psychologist Anders Ericsson and two colleagues at Berlin's elite Academy of Music. With the help of the Academy professors, they divided the school violinists into three groups. In the first group were the stars, the students with the potential to become world-class soloists. In the second were those judged to be merely good. In the third were students who were unlikely to ever play professionally and who intended to be music teachers in the public school system. All the violinists were asked the same question over the course of their entire career, ever since they first picked up the violin. How many hours have you practiced? Everyone from all three groups started playing at roughly the same age, around 5 years old. In those first few years, everyone practiced roughly the same amount, about 2 to 3 hours a week. But when the students were around the age of 8, real differences started to emerge. The students who would end up being the best in their class began to practice more than everyone else. 6 hours a week by the age of 9, 8 hours a week by the age of 12, 16 hours a week by the age of 14, and up, until by the age of 20 they were practicing, that is purposefully and single-mindedly playing their instruments with the intent to get better, well over 30 hours a week. In fact, by the age of 20, the elite performers had each totaled 10,000 hours of practice. By contrast, the merely good students had totaled 8,000 hours, and the future music teachers had totaled just over 4,000 hours. The striking thing about Ericsson's study is that he and his colleagues couldn't find any naturals, musicians who floated effortlessly to the top while practicing a fraction of the time their peers did. Nor could they find any grinds, people who worked harder than everyone else, yet just didn't have what it takes to break the top ranks. The research suggests that once a musician has enough ability to get into the top music school, the thing that distinguishes one performer from another is how hard he or she works. That's it. And what's more, the people at the very top don't just work harder, or even much harder than everyone else. They work much, much harder. So what can you do to help your young hockey student athletes start chipping away at their 10,000 hours? For starters, parents need to get an area in their garage or basement set up so your player can work on stick handling and shooting. If you think about the best shooter on any youth hockey team, they didn't get that way from what coaches were teaching them on the ice and practices. They had a place to shoot at home and shot more pucks than everyone else up to that point. Create an at-home hockey training facility. My friends over at SnipersEdgeHockey.com can help you with this. They manufacture and sell everything you would need to create an at-home hockey sanctuary for your player. Shooting tarps, slick tiles, sweet hands, the Passmaster puck returner, off-ice balls and pucks, and much more. If your son or daughter is not just playing hockey, but training to be a hockey player, they need to understand that off-ice stick handling and shooting has to become part of their regular weekly routine, in addition to any on-ice training. Lastly, very few players know how to improve their stick handling or shooting on their own. I've observed hundreds of hockey players training in an unstructured off-ice setting. What I found in my research is that they typically will do the same routine every time. Throw some objects on the ground, navigate through, and then take a shot. Or gather all the pucks in a pile and start ripping shots. Bottom line, there's no structure or purpose. In the past, off-ice stick handling or shooting was a do-it-yourself activity. But online hockey training has changed this. With our subscription-based stick handling or shooting programs, all the guesswork on how to get better has been eliminated. We provide the path for you to follow with our weekly stick handling or shooting homework assignment or training module, and all you have to do is watch the drill explanation and demonstration, print off your assignment, and get in your garage or basement and start doing the program. Well, now you know. Hockey skill development is a marathon, not a sprint. Help your hockey hopeful start chipping away at his or her 10,000 hours and see how good they can become. If you like what you saw, please share this video with someone you know in the hockey community. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Have a great day.